time zones, daylight saving time. It is super weird. Like, yeah, I'm hoping chat replay is gonna work for this one, but YouTube saying 7 p.m. It's 6 p.m. right now. That is non-daylight saving time. So what is that, standard time? I scheduled it for 6 p.m., but we should be on track. Anyways, welcome everyone who has joined in to this month's free for all, open to all YouTube Patreon Hangout on YouTube. Every once in a while, I kind of like to do these open hangouts just to invite everyone for feedback and to hear what you guys have have to say. So yeah, chat along in live chat. I have that open literally right below the camera. But yeah, let's actually do some Q&As for Patreon. Yeah, unless there's anything else that you guys want me to talk about first, but yes, hope everyone's here, and let's go. Pink Mouse, sorry, no time to make tea. We're getting ready, but actually let me see, I lost my tab. To kind of catch up on I'm missing the stream. This stream is being recorded. You can watch it anytime after this. If you just go to the same Patreon post, literally the same YouTube page will have the recording of the stream. So it's all good if you miss it, or if you can't attend, just come back later and watch it then. All right, which is the oldest one? Let's start questions on the Patreon page first. Let me see. That should be working, right? Yes. Oh yeah, perfect. Cool. Actually, before we do that, question from Lucky Benny from chat. Have I heard anything about the tool changer from E3D yet? So I guess I can ramble about that for a second. So if you've been following me on Twitter and such, I've been on a road trip last week, not this ending week, but last week before that. I went to Frankfurt, the Netherlands, the UK, and drove all the way back. That was a road trip, literally driving everywhere. And one of the stops was E3D, so I was talking about the tool changer, the new heated beds, V7 hot ends possibly coming up, all that sort of stuff. That's a video that is being edited right now and should be up soon. Let's say soon, tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. So that, yes, I have news on that and full detail in the video they're making. But quick summary of the E3D tool changer. It is so that there's 30 beta units that are being built. Those look, I've seen the first one of those, or like the status of what that is at right now, and they look glorious. If you've seen the video from Murph, it looks pretty different. It looks way sleeker, way nicer, way more refined, way more professional, just so much more machined aluminum on there. So it's coming along very nicely. I'm not getting one, by the way. I requested not to get one because it is still classified as a beta product, even though it is probably very finished, very market ready. But it is still a beta. It is still very experimental, and I kind of don't have the time to experiment. I need to sort out everything else first before I can get into playing with that. So yes, that's the update on the tool changer. So Chris Petit is asking, why do I keep hovering over this? Hey Tom, thanks for all the awesome content. Any review of the Prusa MMU 2.0? So the Prusa MMU 2.0 is now shipping. People are getting it, so the new revolver kind of style thing. For the Mark III, it's not shipping for the Mark 2.5 yet, which is a comment, yes, that Ewald Ikemound is making. MMU for 2.5 takes longer and longer, so the Mark III shipping, the 2.5 might still take a second, but yeah, it's out, it's shipping. I don't have any experience on the multi-material 2.0 on the Mark III or the 2.5 yet. I do have the original multi-material and I've not reviewed that yet, so I feel like I kind of should review that first before I request more stuff from Prusa for review. So that's something that I'm going to be working on. But I kind of, yeah, any review for the Prusa multi-material 2, I kind of have a feel for how well the systems that do single nozzle multi-material work. it's got its downfalls, it's got its complications, but it's better than printing in a single color, that's for sure. So yeah, not a ton of info on the 2.0 from me yet, simply because I don't have one yet, and yeah, because I feel like I should review the 1.0 first. So Alexander is asking a bunch of good questions here. So, how to improve overhangs on the Mark III? The Mark III, of course, E3D nozzle, good cooling. Tried slower print speed and variation with temperature, but it's never just right. Okay, overhangs. Yeah, overhangs. Okay, there are a bunch of different things that go into overhangs turning out well. So this is, in fact, no, that is on a different printer. I have my Aria print somewhere, but let's grab just this one from the Ultimaker. Yes, Ultimaker 3. So, overhangs on the bottom here. There are a ton of different, these by the way, I do have a B-roll camera, which is probably totally out of focus. No! So, down here, there are a bunch of different things that turn into or play into how well overhangs turn out. So, the first one, as he's mentioned, is temperature. So if you have too much temperature, the next layer up is going to droop down below. Camera. It's going to droop down below where it should be, so that's just going to get very droopy. Or if the entire print is too hot, you're going to get curling, so where the print actually curls inwards from where it should be. And those are both artifacts of temperatures being too high. So for overhangs, you typically want your temperature to be a bit lower than what you'd print at for maximum strength. The other thing is, what did he mention? He mentioned speed variation. So speed, in my experience, doesn't do a whole lot for overhangs. But what does do a whole lot is temperature. So, well, temperature. Fan, cooling, also something that influences temperature. But the cooling power of your part cooling fan, if you're printing PLA, he doesn't mention what he's printing, but if you're printing PLA, you should probably have your fan at full blast to give you maximum cooling. Again, that's going to avoid both the filament drooping down too much and also curling up, because it gets hard and rigid faster. And the last one with overhangs and just overall general print quality is bad filament. And that's not just buying cheap filament that is crap from the factory, but it's also the thing with letting your filament sit out in the open. These are still sealed, but letting your filament sit out in the open and absorbing moisture. And moisture is a huge deal with overhangs and general print quality and bridges and everything that is kind of the finer details in printing. Also detail reproduction, ooze, all that. So if your filament isn't dry, put it in the oven. Get it dried up. Maybe with PLA, be very careful, but if it's PETG is very sensitive to moisture when it comes to print quality and strength in particular. But yeah, get your filament dried up. That is the one thing I guess I can add to that. Second question, any active patents that hinder open source development for 3D printing, for example, the MakerBot conveyor belt that they had in the Thingomatic, aka the automated build plate. Yeah, that would be one of them. So yeah, if you don't know the MakerBot Thingomatic, or Thingomatic I think it was, instead of having a build plate that was, I guess, well, yeah, this guy is probably the closest thing to that. So instead of having a build plate that would move around and just be a static plate, literally, it would have a small conveyor belt that would push the prints out from the front or out towards the front as they got completed. It's not quite like the black belt or the printer belt from Printerbot, where the belt is actually your y-axis. It was just static while it was printing, and then it would eject towards the front. So that's a big deal. There are some patents when it comes to hot end design. The Mosquito hot end. You might have seen that I actually have one in, where is it? In one of my Mark IIs, I have one of the beta units that I gave them feedback on. That might possibly infringe on some Stratasys patents. I'm not sure about that, but I talked to the guys at E3D about that, and they were like, yeah, they might actually infringe on some things. What else? Enclosures. Yeah, the thing is you can't really have a fully enclosed printer at the moment because Stratasys is holding that patent. So stuff like ABS is still very hard to do, because obviously you're best printing that with an enclosure. PEK also not very much possible because you need such high temperatures both for the hot end at the heated bed and ambient temperature for that to print well, and you kind of only get those if you have a fully enclosed machine. So I feel like some printers are fully enclosed, or at least are kind of closed off, even if they're not airtight, but it kind of scares people away from the idea of building a machine that is capable of more than what we can do right now, because there's so much unexplored territory there. For example, those enclosures. You can build one, but you might get sued by Stratasys, so not really the smartest thing to do. All right. So yeah, those are some of the patents that I feel like are kind of hindering development right now. And it's not just open source development, it's everyone, because patents apply to everything, even if it's, or no matter if it's open source or not. So yeah, question number 3, impure outer perimeters. I've checked those two, they both don't load, so I'm not sure what's up with that. Bottom scarring, could be anything. But yeah, thanks for the questions, Alex. Too bad those images don't load up. Tim Spring is asking, is there a good way to trim unwanted code out of Marlin? He recently uploaded Marlin to a Prusa clone, and the configuration.h had many ANIT versions all listed. Mostly wondering if that can be trimmed down to just the one I'm using, and if the order could be switched around, for example, having stepper rotation and offsets towards the top and touch sensors towards the bottom. Okay, Marlin question. Somebody commented on one of my recent Marlin videos, was like, dude, if you're making one more video on Marlin, I'm unsubscribing. You should better cover 32-bit boards. And I'm like, dude, the reality is, pretty much everyone is still using Marlin. 32-bit is nice and all, but Marlin is, realistically where it is right now. So, can you trim unwanted code out of Marlin? So, yes, you can, but you don't actively have to do it. So the only reason I see why you would want to trim stuff out of Marlin is for it looking nicer, for it being easier to navigate your way around. But the thing is, unused features in Marlin, like if you turn off auto bed leveling, or if you turn off LCDs, or all the unused printer configurations, the stuff you're not using is not uploaded to your printer, so the compiler actually takes that out. It just ignores all the stuff you're not using. So if you're worried about space on your board, like flash memory, it is a total non-issue. Like you don't have to delete anything out of the Marlin source code, I guess. You can just not use it. You can just simply not use those options, and they're completely going to be ignored. So that is kind of, I guess, a non-issue, though. Yes, you can very much delete the stuff you're not using. So you can actually look for, I might be able to actually show you. Let me see. Let me just pull up a Marlin firmware. GitHub Marlin. Oh, what's making those videos there? No, thanks Google. So Marlin. If you go into configuration.h, so what you're going to see is, yeah, those defines, and then, where's the section here? Yeah, so for example, stuff like this, where there's define MK2 multiplexer, you delete those 2 forward slashes, and then it would say define MK2 multiplexer, and then there's this if and end if section. And that is exactly what the compiler is going to strip out. So only if you've got this enabled, it's also going to read this and then define all these bits in here. So again, that is exactly what you could delete as well if you're just not using it. You could just delete either this or the entire section or whatever. Like, as long as you don't have this enabled, this literally does not get read. Also, comments are tossed out as well, so those are not being used by the compiler. Those are simply going to scrap. So, you can, but you don't have to. The other thing is also, if it's just a closed off section like this, where it's, well, I guess something something like this. You can move this entire block around. You can move that up or down or wherever you want it, as long as it's, you know, its own section and not kind of enclosed in something else. So let me see. You probably shouldn't move this out here, but you can totally just delete the entire block or move the entire block. So hoping that answers that question. And switched around, yes, step rotation and offsets towards the top. Yes, you can move those, but keep them in context, don't move them out of the block. So yeah, Imgur has a, oh yeah, there's a closed bracket. Oh, cool. All right, let's actually do those then. There we go. Okay, so this one's relatively easy. Can we zoom in? Yes, we can. So let me check. Yeah. So two things I guess I can see here. So first of all, you've got this going on, which hints to what this is going to be. So this looks like the nozzle is pretty close to the bed for this print. You can see the back and forward lines are kind of melting into one. Usually it would look like this, where there's a clear back and forth line on the infill here, but here it's already melting into just one big puddle, and over here it's kind of one, it's one. So if that goes on for too long, you'll be able to watch that edge kind of mush up and burr up and press a lip, I guess, press up a lip. And over time this happens. It looks like there's a bit of a high spot here in general, and that might just be what pushes this over the edge. So that might either be too much of your bed adhesive if you're using like a glue stick, or Magic Glue, or 3D Ease if that's still a thing, or what are the other ones? Any of those spray on or scoop on bed adhesives, it might just be that there's too much, or that there's literally a dent in your bed there, a dent upwards. So that's what's happening when you have too much or too little of a distance between your bed and the nozzle. So what I generally like to do wherever, like it's not just when I see something like this, but just for all my prints, is two things. So first of all, I like to have the first layer height taller. So that doesn't just mean that the printer is taking the same G-code and just moving the nozzle up higher. It is actually extruding more filament to make up for that extra layer height, just like it would with any other layer height setting. And I also like to have them wider, to have the printer lay down wider tracks. Typically, so layer height, I usually do like 0.25, and width, I do around a millimeter or even 1.5. You do have to go slow, but having that fat technically over extruded layer kind of allows for uneven bits or leveling issues to get soaked up. So if you have like this fat profile instead of just this thin line, imagine if your bed is slightly lower down, if your nozzle is too far off in one section. What's going to happen is, or actually it's more of like this cross section. What's going to happen if you have a layer that is your perfect or your normal height and width, it's just not going to stick because there's not much that it can extend. But since your nozzle is just, say, this wide and you're extruding this wide, if that distance between the nozzle and the bed increases due to an uneven bed, all that's going to happen is that this entire cross section gets a bit slimmer, but it's still like talking is hard today, but it's still getting pressed down quite good to the bed, so it's still going to stick very well. So use those two tips. Use a taller first layer height, and just in general, like first layer height should never drop below 0.2, simply because it's really hard to get a bed that even at that level. So use a taller first layer height and also extrude a bit wider just to make life easier for you. It's not hurting anything. And then the other bit, let's see, impure outer perimeters. So this right here, I guess it's these lines. So what will sometimes happen is that, that looks like a crack, is that your extruder actually skips a step and kind of over extrudes and kind of loses a step on retraction. So What can happen is that, it's just extruding too much the entire length. So, yeah, wait. I should actually show you guys what I'm talking about. So this sort of line. Yeah, extruder clicking on the, not on the extrude, but on the retract. That's the word I'm looking for, on the retract. And that might just cause that for the entire layer. It may also be a lost step in the Z direction, but that is kind of unlikely. You would probably notice that, but that's also a possibility. All right, I'm hoping that answers that. Let me see how many people are here in chat. I'm still kind of worried about the time zone thing. 19 viewers. Well, it looks like YouTube was showing the wrong time for some people, but if you're watching the recording, hey, sorry about that. Nothing I could do. And I kind of realized that way too late. All right. Patreon questions. More. Get out of here. George Robles Jr. Okay, George's Garage. Would love to see or know anyone or anything related to trying that high temp bed plate. So that is the E3D, high temperature. I don't know what the official name is. Well, from people, right? Like you, yes. For Betty answered my question about power source. AC, fuck yeah, words. Yeah, specs for open air, or was it an enclosure? Otherwise, love your videos. So. The E3D heated beds, they're quite crazy. So it's an aluminum plate and it has a vulcanized silicone heater on the bottom. So there's no adhesive, which I've had happen on the service reborn, which is right over there. I tried to make some sausages on the heated bed and the bed overheated, the silicone heater overheated and bubbled off. And that was not too nice. So E3D avoids that by actually vulcanizing the silicone directly, curing the silicone directly onto an aluminum sheet, so that will never release unless your silicone burns up, but that is a very high temperature situation then. So they're saying they can do 200 degrees or 250. It can reach quite easily, and I fully believe that. They have a crazy high temperature, energy density, power density. They have a crazy high power density on those beds. The rating, I believe, is not, it doesn't matter. It can reach those temperatures in either way, both in open air or in an enclosure or with insulation. It is that the materials will not stand up to more than that. So you could keep pumping heat into it and it would still keep heating up, but it would fail at some point. And the heat up temperatures to, I think, around 100 degrees are like 60 seconds. So yeah, that kind of puts it into perspective how much power there is and how much power there is left to spare. So very powerful heated beds. The temperature rating, again, is not for how hot they can get, but for how hot they are safe to use at. So kind of a crazy proposition. Otherwise, love your videos. Your production value in the beginning was amazing for what you had, and now, my word, Tom, almost make me want to start making videos again. Yeah, do it. Make videos, make content. I always think it's good to have more of a selection, more varying viewpoints, more different. A greater variety of creators. Do it. I'd love to see what you come up with. Felix is asking, hey Tom, was wondering, or Felix, no idea where he's from, was wondering if you can point me towards some resources to help start a small business. Well, he's in Bavaria, right? With my 3D printer, taxes, necessary registrations, etc. I'm living in Bavaria as well, so your experience might help me out a lot. Thanks for your time. Since this is kind of very narrow for who this is relevant to, in Germany we have a Kleinunternehmerregelung, which basically means if you're making less than 17,500 euros of revenue a year, you don't have to deal with value-added tax. So definitely go for that, unless you're like making a lot of revenue that is just, you know, passed through. You have a lot of expenses that you kind of want to get your VAT back. But Kleinunternehmerregelung and taxes, yeah, if you're just a Einzelunternehmer, basically you pay, it's just a small, what is it, profit expensive or revenue and expensive sheet, Gewinnüberschuss, or what is it, Gewinnüberschuss, Umsatzüberschuss, whatever. You have your earnings and your expensive. That's all you need, and that is your tax deal, and you pay taxes for it, just like you would for any income. Yeah, I'm thinking it's a thing on the side because if it would be a full-time job, you probably wouldn't be asking me. But it is not that hard to start a business and to start something small like that. So yeah, it's not a whole lot to it. If you're if you're a small business and if you're doing mostly creative work, if you do mostly doing creative work or work that requires your particular skill, you could go, or you should just be a Freiberufler, which is again cheaper because you're not paying tax for Gewerbe. But it's a lot of a lot of information in detail there. But yeah, it's not that hard. There are a few good online sites that kind of walk you through and show you what you need to do, but for sure, go for it. Einnahmenüberschussrechnung. Thank you for that, Lucky Benny. EUR. So yeah, go for it. Just make sure, you know, I'd rather talk about like what you need if you're starting a business, and that is a unique selling point. You need to have something that you can sell, some value that you're producing that nobody else is producing or providing. So think about that first, like if there's a market for what you're kind of offering, and then look into like what the technical details of that are. So yeah, the way I've been running is just trying to keep costs low. Though at this point where it's my main job, it's kind of, what's the word? It is hard to justify keeping costs low, so sometimes you know, you have to spend money on stuff. But if you're just starting out, try not locking yourself into like niches or into services that are going to cost you a lot of money, and just, you know, save cash, and then you're free to do whatever you want, basically. Not sure if that's good advice, but it's worked for me. All right, Iron Joe 13. Let me see how many viewers we lost with that. With that tangent. View and watch page. 2 viewers. All right, not too bad. Why is my mouse not working? Iron Joe is asking, I would like to know your thoughts on the Prusa MMU 2.0 since so many folks seems to be having a tough time with it. Again, talked about it, don't have one yet, haven't used one yet, so can't really talk about that. Robbie Noel is asking, have you had the opportunity to use a Do-It control board? If so, would you consider doing a review and startup guide, including an LCD interface overview? No. How about if you sent you an evaluation board with a 7-inch LCD? I actually have a Do-It Wi-Fi. I also have the 7-inch LCD. I've had that for over a year now, and I feel bad for not having used it yet, or for not having reviewed it yet. I know I should get into it, but it's one after the other. I kind of feel bad for tearing apart one of my perfectly fine working printers and you know, modding it into oblivion possibly, because once I start modding, there's no way back. There's no, hey, this is going to be a nice machine again. It's always going to be kind of hacked up because there's so many things going in and out of that machine. So I've been working on getting my old Mendel 90 back up to or you know, rebuilt and built with a more modular approach, and there's so much stuff to it. Reviewing boards is kind of one of the toughest things to do, because it's not just the first it's not just that first conversion process, but it is actually preserving everything in that process, so you can either go back or go to a different approach again. And yeah, and also I don't want to test it on just some throwaway printer, because that wouldn't be fair to the board if you're saying, oh, it prints like crap with this board. If it's, you know, if the printer's always been printing like crap, then there's no real point in evaluating it. But from what I've heard so far, and from looking at the hardware and all that, it is good hardware. It is really good hardware. The firmware seems to be the firmware seems. The firmware seems to be doing some really cool things that other firmwares and boards just simply cannot do. If it's within your budget, I don't see a reason why not to go for it. So yeah, I simply have to get around to testing it out. Paul Arden is asking about Patrick Wolf, and I think I've heard that name before. Just finished printing his kitty printer. I don't know if he's active still though. Sounds like he mainly used to be active on Google+, but does not seem to be around anymore. Yeah, printer kitten. That is, yeah, so Patreon apparently is doing a horrible job with stripping links. The kitten. Ooh, that looks like a... damn, what's a small tiny printer? Yeah, but that looks like a neat little package. I don't know if Patrick is still active anymore. The thing is with Google+, by the way, this is just water. Fizzy water, which is apparently a very German thing. But yeah, the thing also with Google+ shutting down is a lot of the fallout from that is just that people kind of disappear, that have been either not really have not been that deep in the community or that involved in the community anymore, or kind of just dropping out, which is a shame, which is a really sad story. But yeah, it's tough to kind of keep up with people, keep in touch with people, and kind of following them along. Some move to Facebook, some move to Twitter, some are active somewhere else. Yeah, I guess that the one thing that I've been trying to set up as kind of shaped or to be shaped to the wishes of the former Google+ 3D printing community is a nice forum. You guys might know that I've been running the discuss.toms3d.org forum for a while. It's a very simple, very plug-and-play forum. Not much thought put into it, honestly, but it turned out to be quite an active community. So I kind of want to take the next step and move that over to a proper discourse, not Discord, but discourse, to a proper discourse forum, which is modern forum software. It's a better platform. It is more adaptable. It is faster. It's just better. It's a bit tricky to get the old PHPBB ported to that, but I'm putting Niels Hitze on that, my web admin, trying to move the forum there. And in fact, the discourse forum is already live at discourse.toms3d.org if you want to check it out, if you want to register for it. That is going to be the, my attempt of kind of providing a platform that is run by the community, because Discourse is really well suited to that. You have kind of a level system where people kind of, the longer they're part of the forum, the more active they are, that automatically get promoted to light moderators or moderators and can have influence in, how the forum is, in what direction the forum is moving, etc., etc. So it's a very well suited software for that, and we set that up. In a bit of a pain to set up, but we've set it up, and we're currently working on migrating the PHPBB to that, and that should, that is my attempt of kind of providing something that is community driven and, built to be what the community, or whether that's the Google+ 3D printing community or just everyone. It's probably going to be everyone that can have influence on what that looks like. And yeah, we're working on that. I'm not saying it's like the official successor to Google+, but I'm just trying to provide an open platform for discussion for stuff that is too long form for Twitter, because Twitter, as nice as it is, it's not that deep when it comes to the discussions that are going on there. So yeah, sorry that I don't know the whereabouts of Patrick and what he's up to, but yeah, looks like a nice machine. Have I used the MMU2? Damn, there's a lot of interest on the MMU2. So yeah, I've actually not used it at Prusa headquarters, or the Palette 2. Also not have used the Palette 2, but I can talk about how practical multiple material printing with a single nozzle is at this point. I've done a lot of PLA plus PVA, which is kind of a pain because you get so much mixing between PLA and PVA. It doesn't matter with PLA that much, but the PVA gets really stringy. It doesn't dissolve as well. It's kind of a pain, even if there's just a trace of PLA left. The other thing is for multicolor, which I think it doesn't matter as much if you're just doing PLA, 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 PLA. It probably doesn't matter that much because it will flush it out, and if it's slightly contaminated, it's not going to affect the material properties. It might just be a slightly off hue, as long as you're not mixing like a red in the white. That never works out. So for that, it can work really well, and for multi-property material. So if you're doing a flexible plus a rigid material, for that it can work really well too, because a bit of mixing is not going to ruin either material in that case either. So it's a good approach. It does waste a bit of material on the prime towers, which is, at least for multicolor, is kind of being solved by allowing you to print like an arbitrary model with the waste tower. But yeah, it's getting along. I don't think it's the end-all solution to multi-material printing. I think that multi-nozzle printing is still a better approach, like having physically two different hot ends. I'm looking at the Sigma R17, whatever, the last BCN 3D machine, not the most current one, but that with the independent x-axis I think is a more flexible, more versatile solution, and possibly doesn't use as much, or it doesn't waste as much material as a single nozzle solution. So yeah, I wish there were more printers that did the IDEX, because I think it's a really cool and very versatile setup. Any plans for upgrading the dolly build, and do you still use it? Dolly standing right there. It turned out way messier than I had expected it. Do I still use it? No, to be fully honest with you. If you have just such a large selection of printers, you tend not to use the worst one of them. You tend to use machines that are just better. Any plans on upgrading it? I might use it for upgrade guides for, well, specific bits of upgradery of the printer, individual components. But as is, it's kind of, I've actually thought about fully tearing it down and upcycling the parts. I will be starting I think I've shown you guys the CNC parts that I've started to buy, but before that I'm going to build a mostly printed CNC. I know a lot of people have been asking for that as well, and I may actually use motors and electronics from this guy for it. Not sure. I'll have to check what I have in my parts bins. But yeah, not getting a lot of love. If you build one of these, maybe go with a nicer heated bed, or put some glass on top. And yeah, just build it a bit more nicely. Just slightly. Pink Mouse is asking, thinking of building a dual head, so an IDEX printer like the BCN Sigma. Suspect I need to lay out my own shield PCB to get the extra motor channel and such like, especially if I use TMC 2130s in full intelligent mode as I'd like to do. Is it actually worth doing now, or is it worth hanging on for the new Marlin, possibly cheaper 32-bit boards? Yeah, excellent question. So, own shield PCB to get the extra motor channel. So there is... I'm actually thinking about how a multiplexer could come in handy here, but so Marlin does support the independent x-axis setup. There are some boards with 6 stepper motor drivers. So that would be X, X, E, E, Y, Z. So that would be 6. So if you want to go with a 6, oh yeah, if you want to go with a 6 motor board, there is that option of buying it, of getting it straight up as a finished board with Marlin. But adding a motor driver isn't that hard. Have a look through pins.age. You don't even need a shield. You can just hot wire it in with some jumper wires. So that wouldn't be such a big deal, because really, if you look at the ramps, you have 5 drivers already. You have dual extruders, though you would also need to wire in a fan output. I guess, yeah, it's not that trivial, but you don't need a shield. You could just do it. You could just do it flying, or you design a shield that goes on top of a ramp. So I'm not sure how much work we should put into that ancient platform anymore. TeamC 2113 full intelligent mode. Yeah, that's adding some complexity because you're needing SPI. Yeah, Lucky Benny, there's also 2 extruder motors, not just 2X. Yeah, is it actually worth doing it now? Yeah, I guess I kind of talked about that just a second ago as well. I think the IDEX approach is a very, very versatile, very powerful setup. So particularly if you're doing PVA supports, I think that's where it really shines. Whether that's, yeah, I guess the Ultimaker with just a single tool head and 2 extruders, or any other printer that does it that way, is also well suited for PVA, but they ooze. Yeah. So IDEX, I think, is the absolutely best solution for, let's say, for PVA support materials right now. So if that's down your alley, up your alley, if that's what you want to do, definitely go for it. But also keep in mind that IDEX, especially if you do it yourself, kind of needs a bit of calibration. Unless you make the... Let me see. So the Sigma actually has a full calibration routine built in, but would you actually need that? If you have, well, you need full XYZ adjustability in your... No, I guess just YZ adjustability in your hot ends. So you do need some adjustability, be it in firmware or in hardware. And I'm not sure how well Marlin does that right now. Just keep in mind it's a bit more complex on the setup and calibration side. Single tool head with 2 nozzles is a pain in the butt, but at least my Flashforge Creator Pro, I opted to remove the second nozzle. Yeah, so 2 nozzles without any lift is kind of a pain because oozing and stuff. So yeah. So the short answer is, yeah, a shield is probably a good idea. Again, PCBs aren't that expensive. You go with something like dirty cheap PCBs, or dirty cheap PCBs, or any of the other prototyping services. It's not that hard. So yeah, I'd love to see some like standardized open solutions for doing independent X-axis, because again, it is a very powerful approach. Ta. Not sure where that ta is missing, but ta-da. Michael McGee, here in the US, I've seen a drop in filament pricing as a general question. Any thoughts on why have we not seen dropping prices except for the lowest end filaments? No dropping prices. So it's kind of a volume thing, but then again, it's not a volume thing. If you look at I'm probably really tiny if you sit back like that. If you look at what raw resin costs, it's pennies. Well, not pennies, but it's like raw resin. If you're looking at your standard industrial polymers like polypropylene or PE or even PETs now, they're like $2 a kilogram, roughly, if you buy them in bulk. Probably even less than that. So PLA is more expensive. It's not much more expensive than that. And I kind of know the pricing of what a filament spool from China cost, or at least cost 2 years ago or so. And like this one costs the manufacturer like $5 or $6 US dollars to manufacture. So you kind of get the idea of what the margins are if you have a 1 kilogram spool that is made for $5 or $6 and that then is sold for 29 or 19 if you're going for a cheaper one. So filament production is always a scale thing, yes, but that scale is very easy to reach. Someone like Dust Filament, who is, I think, like rocking 3 extruder lines or so, they are already fully at that scale where it's like it's tapered off. If you just have 1 extruder line that is not used fully, yes, you're going to pay more to manufacture. But as soon as you move to multiple extruder lines, you're not really pushing that that efficiency or effectiveness factor anymore. So filament's not getting cheaper to make. What does improve though is reliability in manufacturing, so that it's easier to make reliable and reproducible, consistent filament. That's happening, and it's just more competitive. Again, if a spool costs $5 to $6 to make, margins are shrinking just because there's more competition. So the lower end materials, though I don't know where exactly you're drawing the line for low end, those kind of are just there to sell stuff at any margin. The higher end products, they can charge as much as they do for their products, though it doesn't cost them realistically that much more to make. They may be using better materials, they may be using or maybe putting in more research and more quality control, which also costs money on top of your manufacturing cost, but it's not magnitudes larger, at least if you're looking at PLA. So yeah, the only thing that you have to keep in mind here is that cheap filament, it's getting better, but it's not always as good as the quality stuff. And for some applications, that's fine. Like if you have a print fail, that's all right. But for other applications, you might just need that guarantee of, okay, this filament is just going to print really well. It's not going to have any oversized bits in it. It's not going to have, metal flakes in it that will clog the nozzle, or any of that stuff where, the work it actually takes you, or the time it actually takes you to run a 3D printer is actually worth something, then a cheap material might not be something that you want to get into. But again, it is mostly, I think at least, I'm not a filament maker insider, but I think it's mostly just the competitive market that is pushing prices a bit lower down, and just the experience of what works and what doesn't. So yeah, I don't think we've reached the bottom yet, and you can regularly see filament sales that are like $10 a kilogram from known brands. So yeah, on those I don't think they're making a loss, but yeah. Why have we not seen dropping prices? We are seeing dropping prices. Cheap filament is getting better, good filament is getting cheaper, so win-win. Benjamin, tool changer, 30 minutes, is that when it's at 30 minutes? Yeah, tool changer once it's available. The second best option is IDEX. The thing is, the tool changer, best option. Yeah, just like let's see, what car could I use for this? Just like an M5 might always be the best option because it's like the most horsepower and the most whatever. Doesn't mean it's the best car, the best thing for the job. So at a certain point, you kind of have to keep cost in mind. The tool changer uses a lot of machine parts. It uses a lot of high precision elements, and it is a rather complex system, even compared to IDEX, which is already more complex than a 2 extruder or 2 nozzle setup. So it's the tool changer just as a mechanical platform is what, 1,300 euros, pounds, somewhere around that ballpark, and that doesn't factor in I think no hot ends, no extruders, no electronics, no nothing, just the mechanics and the frame. So that kind of that's how much is the Sigma? Probably around that ballpark, right? So that's as much as an entire printer. So the tool changer, I think it is a great application, but its best application is not just 3D printing. And ETH3D are kind of getting pushed in that direction to just use it as a 3D printer because that's what they can make it work as right now. But a tool changer really works well if you do more than just one type of tool. If you're doing more than just the 3D printer tool, if you're doing the stuff they originally announced for it, which is CNC tooling, which is lasers, which is inkjet heads, all those things. So once they figure out the software, how to actually run a 3D printing head and a subtractive head in the same machine, in the same job. I don't want to say in the same print, but in the same job. So you print something, then it swaps tools to a machining head, and it actually cuts your features to size. That's where the tool change is really going to shine. But for now, it is. It's a nice. I mean, I'm genuinely in love with the amount of effort that they've put in, and with how well everything already works. But it's not being used to its full potential right now. So yeah, let's see if we have any newer questions. Does not look like it. Yeah. All right. How long did we stream? Oh, 50 minutes. That's not my typical Patreon Hangout length. But yeah, any more questions from you guys in chat that are watching right now? How many? 19. Oh, we've picked back up. Any questions from you guys? I'll just wait till you guys finish typing. What can I talk about while I wait for that? So, yeah, podcast. I guess I can touch on that. You guys might have seen the Meltzone podcast that I'm doing with Stefan. I think it's nice. It's nice to do. It's something different. It's something where it's not fully edited, fully scripted, fully planned out video. We just have like a few bullet points before we start, and that's all we need. That is good fun. So if you've not watched that, I would highly recommend you give it a try, because it's I enjoy making it. It's good, and Stefan is good to talk to because he knows his stuff too. Yeah, that MPCNC, I've touched on that. Yeah. Am I going to MERV 2019? I'm just reading chat. Another 10 minutes and an additional 100 viewers joining. Yeah. Am I going to MERV 2019? Yes. Well, I've not booked anything yet, but yes. Yeah, I'm pretty surely going there. It was a great event last year. It was fantastic. Just the exact, all the stuff you might complain about with trade shows, like TCT or Formnext. Is that this last weekend? I don't know. Formnext has been happening around this time frame. TCT, Formnext, all the big shows. All the stuff that is missing there as far as community and open source stuff goes, that's what MERV is. Like, MERV is just such a honeypot full of awesome stuff, awesome people, good projects, collaboration, everything. Formnext, no, I will not be there. I've talked about this earlier this year, but I've gotten burned out from trade shows. Just it's not much to see. It's like I should be wearing a dress shirt and a suit for that, but yeah. I feel out of place just walking around in my floral print T-shirt and walking around with a camera and a stick mic. But yeah, trade shows have been kind of boring for me. So yeah. So, dual X system, would you use a hot wipe with a catch tank or a hot end plug parking location? Hot end plug parking. Hot end wipe with catch tank. So what the Sigma does works really well. Though plug could work, it's probably going to smear the hot end. Derek, I'm hoping that answers that. Pink Mouse is asking about the wood behind me. So this here is, I guess, real wood, but not like real wood. This is laminate flooring, so it does have a real wood core, but it is fake wood. But you could walk on it. It's not just a wallpaper. Andrew E, will videos go back to being more regular anytime soon? I don't know how long I've been talking about this. Probably a few months, but I don't know. This year has been so chaotic, so filled, so. Just full of stuff to do, stuff that kind of need immediate attention, stuff that gets left behind. I don't know. It's been kind of a mess, and I feel bad for not being more regular with the sort of content I produce and with the amount of content I produce. Will they go back to being more regular again? That is a very healthy yes. I do have, actually just today, I do have an editor again now, someone who's editing externally. He's from Norway. We're just sending files back and forth. Just today, he's kind of finished or semi-finished on the first video that I sent out to him. So that is kind of my my attempt of getting a bit of breathing room back. It's just been so manic. I've been feeling like I've been running around as a chicken with no head. You know how you decapitate a chicken and it keeps running around and just has no clue. Well, whatever. That's been me for this year. So you might have seen that reflected in the content that I've uploaded. I'm not entirely happy with it either. But yes, we're going back to well, scripted videos, videos that are not just projects or trade shows or that sort of stuff. So yeah, working on that, coming. Yeah, because I do enjoy just making content that kind of lasts. Like some of my most popular videos are still some of my first videos that I've ever uploaded, like the first guides and all, calibrating extruders, setting up auto bed leveling. Those still outperform pretty much anything that I upload today. So I do want to get back to that. I will, in fact, these next few days, I will start asking here on Patreon on what you guys would like to see more of. So that might just be would you like to see more guides, more reviews, more projects, more interviews, more behind the scenes, that sort of thing, but also like very specific. Okay, I've got these 4 printers. Which one of these would you like me to review next? So that's something where you guys can have an influence on. Very soon, I'll keep posting some, or I'll start posting some polls here, and yeah. I've been missing the videos too, Andrew. Yeah, but that's something that I'll be working on. So in the short term, let's see. So this coming month, what's going up? So the trip to the UK, that's what's going to come first. That's just stuff that is already shot and waiting to be edited. We've got the interviews with Gino Heuske, with Adrian Bauer, with MCPP, formerly Dutch Filaments, with E3D, and an E3D product update. So that's 5 videos that will be going up soon-ish. Probably these next few days. Probably not right away tomorrow, but these next few days there will be those videos from that tour. And after that, I can get back. It's always like just after this, I can get back. But after that, I can get back into the more regular schedule. In fact, just on Thursday, I've received the Monoprice Delta Pro, which is the machine that Atom 3D are making for Monoprice. And that's sitting somewhere outside. And I'll be reviewing that, I think. And they've also wanting to sponsor a project. So yeah, but review and a project on that. Something that isn't just 3D printing, which I think it could be fun. So yes, that's gonna be it for me for today. Probably right now everyone's joining in and wondering like, hey, why am I already signing off? It is 7 p.m. local time right now. This stream was scheduled for 6 p.m. Hoping not too many or well, nobody actually joined in too late. But as always, the recording is available. Thank you all again so much for your support on Patreon. I'll keep you involved, well, with posts as I go along. And yeah, thanks for joining in. Thanks for being here. Thanks for asking questions. And yeah, see you next time. Cheers. And as always, I don't know when to hit the stop. It's probably, I probably should do like a, I should have an ending. You know, like I have the starting soon, that. I should have the same thing for goodbye and over, so I can kind of look for that in the YouTube interface. I feel like that's something that still isn't sorted out very well. Oh well, I think should be good.